Gata, the Udana, Iti-Utaka, Theragata, Therigata. I've written a book on liberation, relevance of Sutta Vinaya. I think the books and the CDs are somewhere here. You can get them. How this listening to the Dhamma is so important that the Buddha calls all his disciples Savaka. Whether it is monastic disciples or lay disciples, all the Buddha's disciples are called Savaka. This word Savaka has been translated into Chinese as servant, hearers or listeners. So only if you listen to the Buddha's words and you understand, can you be called a disciple of the Buddha. Now, how do you know that you have right view? The Buddha says that a person who has right view has attained stream entry. When you get right view, you enter the stream, you become the first stage Arya, which is out of the 8 types of Arya, the lowest is the first path attainer. There's a stream enterer. This first path attainer is a person who understands some basic Dhamma about the Four Noble Truths and has achieved right view, so he attains his first path. Now the sutta says that after you attain the path comes from understanding, but understanding is not enough. After you understand, you have to study the Dhamma more and meditate and put the Dhamma into practice. Keep the moral conduct, listen to more suttas, meditate, practice charity, and over a period of time when your understanding deepens, and then this path will ripen and turn to fruit. So it becomes sotapanna. The first path after some time becomes fruit, sotapanna. But later books like the Abhidhamma, they say that once you achieve the path, immediately it turns to fruit. This is not what the sutta says. The sutta says that when you achieve the path, you have not eliminated the 3 factors. It takes more understanding, it takes more work. You have to work on it, and then that wisdom ripens, and then it turns to fruit. And when it turns to fruit, the 3 factors fall away. What are the 3 factors? One is doubt. Doubt about the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. Another factor is Sila Bhatta Paramasa, clinging to rules and rituals. And the third factor is Sakaya Ditti, identity view. We like to identify ourselves with the body and the mind. Think this body and the mind is I or mine. But when you see impermanence, then you see that this body and the mind cannot be I and mine. This body is like a shell. So even though you understand that the body and the mind is not the self, but still you have a self. You have a self somewhere. It's only the Arahant who has finished his work, who has no self. Even all the other stages of Aryahood, they still have the self. Only thing is, all the Aryans have eliminated Sakaya Ditti, identity view. You don't identify yourself with the body and your mind, even though you have a self, because you see impermanence in the body and the mind. What is impermanent cannot be the self. The Buddha always talk about anatta, that there is no atta in the world. Atta, although we translate it as self, you have to be very careful, because in the worldly sense, we have a self. We have a self. This is the conventional self. But that is not what the Buddha meant. What the Buddha meant by atta is something that is permanent, that is unchanging, a core, an essence that remains the same. If there is something that remains the same, then you can identify it as yourself or something. But if everything is changing all the time, then whatever you say is yourself. After a while it changes, it's no more there. How can it be yourself? Yeah. But this more self, anatta, is very hard to see. Very hard to see because our mind is not developed. So we meditate to develop the mind to a higher level so that we see with a higher wisdom. Most people, we operate through the six senses. We know the world only through the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body and the mind. That's how we perceive the world. If you perceive the world only through your six senses, you're not going to have a very great wisdom. You have to transcend the six senses, develop your mind, then only you have the higher wisdom. This Sakayaditi, you understand that since the body and the mind is impermanent, you cannot be yourself. So a person who has eliminated the three factors becomes a Sotapanna. And this Sotapanna, he has unshakable faith in the Buddha, has unshakable faith in the Dhamma, has unshakable faith in the Sangha. And he has sometimes said to have the perfect Sila. But this perfect Sila is not the monks' 227 precepts or the Mahayana monks' 250 precepts or the Bhikkhunis' 348 precepts. It is the Aryan precepts. And the Aryan Sila are three factors in the Noble Eightfold Path. The three factors that comprise Sila is right speech, right action and right livelihood. So after I'll talk about that. So this Sotapanna, he has the unshakable faith in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, and he has the Aryan Sila. Now the Buddha also said, once you become an Arya, you are never reborn in the three woeful planes of existence. And the Buddha also said, once you become a Sotapanna or a stream enterer, you have a maximum of 7 more rebirths before you enter Nibbana. And these 7 more rebirths, you only either go up to the heavenly rebirth or human rebirth. Also, once you have the right view, you have seen the Dhamma, you have the Dhamma Chakku. Dhamma Chakku sometimes is translated as vision of the Dhamma, sometimes as the eye of the Dhamma. In other words, you have seen the Dhamma. Once you have seen the Dhamma, you become a changed man. Your attitude towards the world is changed. Previously, you were very worldly. You like to enjoy everything in the world. Slowly, you become more of a recluse. Keep more to yourself, you practice. You don't want to go to karaoke, you don't want to go to Genting Highlands, you don't want to go to the casino, you don't want to go to the races, you don't want to go with your friends on happy hour and all that. You want to look for China girls and all that. So, people who notice your change, sometimes they think something wrong with this fellow. So, when you walk the spiritual path, it's a lonely path. Nobody wants to join you. You have to walk the path alone. So, if you don't have the courage, you don't have the understanding, it's very difficult to persevere because your friends will want you to join them. Yam sing, go here, go there, but you want to practice the Dhamma more. And also another characteristic of the Sotapanna, the Buddha says, Sotapanna becomes independent of others in the Buddha's teaching. In other words, you don't look for a Ho Liao Su Hu anymore. famous teachers.